My name's Henry Confidential, not Aaron Canole, and this is the Movie Battleground. That's right. Once again, it is Henry Confidential, and we have an amazing match today here on the Movie Battleground. We have Jay Burnz versus Madeeh Rehman, two of my really good best buddies in the entire world. So no one better to host this than me, other than the fact that the best option is always to have me as the host, as long as I set my alarm to 7:30 p.m. instead of a.m. With that said, introducing first with a record of 6-4 with 1 KO and a lot of brown, Madeeh Rehman. What's happening, brother?
A lot of brown is right. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, this is gonna be that kind of match, honestly.
Oh yeah.
What's going on, bro?
That's pretty much how this is. So the Battleground, I've been knowing this from you for years that at no point are you ever gonna like take this overly seriously, because that's just not your vibe. You're just that goddamn good. Like, how do you feel to be in a position to debate Jay? Well, let me backtrack a minute. 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago, if I ever said we're gonna have a movie debate between Jay Burnz and Madeeh Rehman, is anyone ever thinking that this is like a high caliber, legit contender match, or is that one of those things where I'm like, oh, is that an exhibition from two jackasses? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how crazy is this?
Listen, knowing how me and Jay are, people would have been like, "Oh, that's the 420 match." You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be what it is. Like Jay, listen, this is all love between all three of us, but it's like in terms of debate. Like a couple years ago, I was not caring at all. Like I showed up, maybe watched one of the movies. Now I put like a little bit of effort into it, just you know, but at the same time, like you just gotta like watch like a couple movies, and then you're like, all right, yeah, I know the shit that I'm talking about, and then you just gotta bullshit until someone believes you.
Exactly. And it's also one of those things that, like I said, you're just that high caliber of a debater that it's not even really bullshit. It's just you're able to just put together a thought and like a structure of an argument that is competitive, and your opponent, you're just kind of you're able to bounce off your opponent. And that's kind of what debaters like me, you, Jay, we're really great at doing that. And that's why it's technically bullshit, but it's one of those things where it's like you're just rolling with the punches and you can't really get knocked off your feet. That someone we've debated people that don't prepare at all, and then when you're going back and forth, whatever they're saying, oh my god, that's not my notes, I'm screwed. No, let's just run it. We'll figure it out.
You got to be able to figure it out on the fly. I mean, come on. Also, props for calling me a master debater. I appreciate that a lot. But look, you've been a champ in this league, dude. Like you know how much of this is actual bullshit, and then how much of this you actually believe. Like a lot of this has to do with like ability to like think on the fly and like figure out what they're gonna say and go off that. And here's the thing with Jay, I never know what the fuck he's gonna say.
He never knows what the fuck
he never knows. Listen, his whole.
How many times did I judge a Jay's match, and in my notes I'm right, that's bullshit. You don't mean that.
Listen, after what was it, yesterday when we talked about Whiplash with Jay, I have no clue what this dude is going to say.
Shout out Movie Cherry Mondays on Live Confidential Action, because yes. Yikes.
What a fucking barn burner that was. This guy, listen, I love Jay, but god damn it, I can never tell what he's going to say. My notes are just like, figure out what he's going to say when he says it and then retort.
All right, so with that said, I am going to bring him in there. Good luck as a host and one of the judges of the matches impartially, and I'm excited to see how this rolls. So let's go ahead and bring in your opponent. with a record of 7-3 and 1 KO and lots of bullshit. Jay the Arsonist Burnz. What's happening, man? You've been on fire lately. You've been burning it down. You know what I mean? It's just been one of those things that you're coming to play.
I bring cans of gasoline with me everywhere I go. Cans of gas. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm gonna fucking say anytime I do this. Did I watch these movies? I don't know, dude. I've never watched Holes or anything else. So
spoiler alert.
I mean, I've seen Holes, but that was on a different website.
Let's talk about your holes.
Talk about your holes. How many holes do you have?
When the green room is set up to have to face Madeeh, is that one of those things where you're like, wow, this is a really competitor, or you're like, wow, this is someone that I could walk all over, or it's like, wow, another guy that I can just bounce off of, similar to, like I said, debating me and not even trying to blow up the thing. It's when you're in a scenario, when you're in debate and you know how to approach it versus like an unknown competitor or someone that isn't on your caliber or someone that can't handle your yelling and bullshit. Like, you know that Madeeh can handle that. You know how he's going to handle that's one thing, but you know he can handle it. Are you excited for that? Is that nerve-wracking for you in terms of like, most people you can kind of just bully into the point, or do you think Madeeh's not going to be able to put up with it today?
No, it's not even necessarily bullying into a point. I love playing against people like you because I can get under your skin and we can just bullshit back and forth, and we just do it to each other. Madeeh's kind of the exact same way because we'll have arguments and we'll talk and we'll fucking debate in chats and shit. But it's like playing against Rue, where it's like we're such close people. Like, we talk a lot, you know, we bullshit, we hang out, and it's like, hey, we know the way that we're going to react to each other. I actually walk into matches like this, not necessarily like being put at ease, but definitely not on like my back foot because I don't know how this is going to go. It's just, this is a normal conversation that we have, and everybody knows that if we start yelling at each other, it's not because we hate each other. It's literally just out of love, and we just are like, what the fuck did you say about Whiplash? Oh my god, you're a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, there's no hate crimes in this match. So let's go ahead and get into it. Shout out to myself, Zach Shelton, and Nick Hernandez in the background. We are going to be the judges for this match. Thanks to those guys for showing up. And as for me, regardless of on time or not, that's not the point. Let's go ahead and get into it right now. All right, and here's how the Movie Battleground is going to work. It is a best of 5 rounds. First player to 3 points. Each round is worth 1 point. 3 points in a row equals a knockout. If there's a tie after 4 rounds, then we will go to a blind round. So let's go ahead and get into it, bringing in the players right now. All right, gentlemen, do you have any questions?
No.
All right.
You're muted, by the way, Madeeh.
Thank God.
Henry, real quick, remember this shirt?
I remember it. Is there a specific scenario or just the shirt as a whole?
The first fucking debate, like the teams debate that we did.
Oh, that you wore that day?
Like the watermelon shirt thing. I still have like fucking.
It was me, you, Mike, Andrew. Was it just 2-on-2 or was it a 3-on-3?
It was 2-on-2, and then it was Aaron trying to rein us in.
Yeah, pass. That's why he didn't show up today. He was like, nah.
I'm not dealing with that shit again.
All right, gentlemen. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. I always forget how that goes. All right, I will bring myself out, and then you guys know the drill. You'll see the timer at the top and ready to rumble. Jay had the opportunity to go first or second in questions 1 or 3 and 2 and 4, and he chose 2 and 4. So Madeeh will be answering first, and this is actually a viewer-submitted question by a viewer, player, or judge. Question number 1, submitted by Brian Nussbaum. What is the best voice performance in an animated film of all time? Now I'm going to drop myself out, and now I am going to be in the background, and I will press play on whenever you go. So it'll be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 1 minute. All right, let's go.
All right, so animated performances, I went with The Lion King, and I picked Jeremy Irons as Scar. And now there's a couple reasons I picked this. One, I unfortunately rewatched the CGI version like somewhat recently, and god damn it, the animated version is so much better. Like, it's the exact same script, the exact same visuals, just in a different medium, but you just can't match what Jeremy Irons did. Like Chiwetel Ejiofor is a really good actor, but he just didn't have the same level of performance as Jeremy Irons did. Like the little like slow drawl that he puts in, the sass that he drops with Scar, the way that he says quiver with fear at the beginning of the movie is just, he does it so well. He's such a really like phenomenal Shakespearean actor that brings in like this whole Claudius vibe from Hamlet. And like when you have someone like James Earl Jones on the other end, you want someone who can match him. So Jeremy Irons as Scar is my pick.
When you think of the quintessential voice for an animated character, I'm sorry, it would have been James Earl Jones had he been in the movie long enough. Scar, Jeremy Irons pops up real low for me. My choice is the quintessential voice that you think of when you ask what is the best voice performance in an animated movie. And it's Robin Williams as the genie. There is no man that has brought magic and humor to life the way that that giant of stage and screen did. He brought everything, he laid it all out on the table, so much so that there was so much left over that they could have made just a movie based off of the takes that he did. The fact that he laid everything he had out, and it's still one of the best performances done by Robin Williams. It's the most known performance in animation and in Robin Williams' career. Robin Williams is the quintessential voice actor. It is the best voice performance in an animated film, period.
All right, and time. All right, now we're going to go on to the rebuttals. 2 minutes. Madeeh, first, whenever you begin speaking.
So yeah, arguing against Robin Williams is not going to be easy by any means, but I think a lot of that is that I'm not necessarily sure as much as it was a performance as it was him just being let out of the cage and just saying, all right, go. And then the editors figuring it out later and the animators kind of figuring it out with it. A lot of Robin Williams' performance, as magical as it can be, is just Robin Williams being Robin Williams. It's not really him being a performance. It's just Robin Williams. And that's not to say that it's any less iconic or it should be any less iconic, but it's just the fact of the matter is that it's Robin Williams just being put out there in an animated format. And giving like a face to his improvisations and everything like that. Scar was, it could have possibly just been like a regular villain. It could have been like any other character in a Disney movie, but it's not. It's arguably top 3 Disney villains of all time, which is saying something when it's 100 years old now. And a big part of that is because of Jeremy Irons' performance. Like he's been going, like he could have just phoned it in and given like a soft performance or like done something kind of snide with it. But no, he went all in with it, gave a hell of a performance, damaged his vocal cords singing Be Prepared, which is, that's not giving it up for your craft. I don't know what is. But he's also just someone who's finding a way for himself to fit into a character and portraying that character by really acting and then putting it and showing it only through his voice. And the animators are doing the rest of the work. The genie is a great character, but it's Robin Williams. Like it's not really a performance. It's just him just going off and then someone recording it and putting it together. So it's more just like fine tuning and editing his rambling instead of actually giving a performance.
I don't necessarily think that that's honestly fair to say that Robin Williams isn't like it's just Robin Williams being Robin Williams. We all know, unfortunately, what happened to Robin Williams. We all know that that persona that he put on outside of that was a performance. So in order to, he brought that. He brought a little bit of pain there. He brought a lot of whimsy. He brought a lot of magic. You brought it up that Jeremy Irons strained his voice while singing Be Prepared. He strained his voice at the beginning of that song, and Jim Cummings had to come in and actually finish up that song and clean it up. So his most famous song, like the best thing that Scar has done, wasn't even done by Jeremy Irons. It was done by somebody else. Robin Williams through and through gives you the best performance. And you can say whether or not you like, we can go back and forth on whether it's just Robin Williams doing something or if it's him putting on a performance. I think doing anything, especially if you're reading material that you didn't write yourself, is performing. So you're not doing anything but actually making a case for Genie being like for Robin Williams as the genie being the best voice performance in a movie. You can say like everybody can say what they want. We all watched shitty remakes. I watched a shitty remake of Aladdin. I really wish I hadn't. I wish I could get that 2 hours and fucking 15 minutes back. But you know what it made me do? It made me go back and rewatch Aladdin. And it's still a movie that holds up. Lion King's a movie that holds up, don't get me wrong, but there are better performances throughout that entire movie. Jeremy Irons is one of the better ones, but I like Mr. Bean, to tell you the truth, as Zazu, Jonathan Taylor Thomas as Simba, and James Earl Jones as Mufasa, Nathan Lane as Timon. Absolutely. Say what you want about all of these characters. There is no more iconic a character and no more iconic a voice than Robin Williams and Genie put together. It is the greatest voice acting performance in animation.
All right. That is your 2 minutes right there. Now we're going to go into the opening round. Just a reminder to the competitors and the judges. The question is, what is the best voice performance in an animated film of all time? Just a reminder, anyone talks over each other, try and be, mindful of them, their thoughts, give them opportunity to have a back and forth. 4 minutes does go by quick. So keep in mind that if you're rambling on, your opponent's not getting a chance. And with that said, let's see what happens.
We gonna go through what we talk about?
I'm down if you're down.
All right, bro. What's up with the Maple Leafs hat? Are you a big fan of the Leafs? Like, what's going on?
Honestly,
or is it just a Canadian thing?
I gotta tell you, like the Maple Leafs hat, it was a gift. Like when I got my citizenship, people were like, you know what, you gotta have more Canadian stuff on you. Like, all right, yeah, fair. Why not?
That's
like,
fair.
It's not. I'm not like doing like the whole patriotism thing, like where Americans put an American flag on fucking
don't do that
on Smarties, like candy bars or some shit, and like pull that around. No, that's not me. That's not me. Henry, don't worry, we got this. But listen, the Maple Leafs hat, like I like the Blue Jays. They're like a solid team, and this is technically one of their merchandise, and it ended up working out, right? Like Canada Day was last week. You guys had an Independence Day a couple of days ago, so
yep.
Around this time of year, I tend to wear it more often.
Have you seen the Jays' new hat? Like the like light navy blue and the pink stitch.
Yeah.
What do you think about that hat? Because
Yeah,
I actually think it's fire.
I think it's cool. I think my issue with it is
I'm gonna let this go on for 1 minute. If you guys don't talk about the movies, I will call them.
It just kind of, Henry, I'm sorry, man. We talked about this before. We're gonna let
our arguments do the talking.
Yeah, we're gonna let our arguments do the talking. Right now, it's just.
And we are gonna go on to our 1 minute closings now, because there are plenty of things where I feel like there is going to be an open debate for the respect of the show. I do appreciate the points, and we'll see how Aaron feels about that later.
It is an exhibition match, so like.
This is an exhibition match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This ain't a real match?
No, this is an exhibition match.
What the fuck?
This is a match purely for fun, my boy.
Oh my god. Am I angry? I really
I
have
was
no idea how to
this
feel right
was
now.
just like for fun.
I have no idea how to feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I had like a number one contenders match against Noah, which shout out is on the channel now if you guys want to watch that.
I did just see that. I assumed that. I thought that was something to do with this.
Fuck. No, I'm pretty sure this is just fun.
Yeah, this is just us having a good time. Aaron asked us if we wanted to be in an exhibition match, and we were like, "Fuck yeah!" And then we didn't choose any of the questions. Like we were just like, "Here, give us 4 questions, and we'll fucking randomly talk about it."
That is fair. All right.
And then we have you as a host. You didn't put things together. The only thing that would have made it more obvious is if we had Tato as a host or like
judge.
Closing 1 minute when the timer starts.
All right.
Henry's so mad.
So Robin Williams is iconic as the genie in Aladdin. I'll give him that. Yeah, we can go into the whole minutia of whether or not his performance that he was putting on in real life and the sadness that comes with that is a part of what happened in the genie. But you can't take away that it's not something like he did in Fisher King or Good Will Hunting, or even fucking Robots, where he's like putting on a performance of a character first and then it's him. You can't really separate these two because a lot of Robin Williams is just the genie. He's just putting himself out there as whatever the character of Robin Williams was and using that as what the genie is. Jeremy Irons is actually performing as Scar. He's putting out his vocal performance. And yeah, there's other iconic roles that are in The Lion King as well, but he stands out among them all. James Earl Jones is in it for a short amount of time, and Jeremy Irons battles him throughout, and you're like, all right, this guy is someone to be messed with. You need someone of that level who can battle with the other performances in this movie and stand out.
Whoa. Performance in this movie and stand out. Right.
Don't do that. You fucking bumped in. You threw off his groove, okay? Fuck off.
You threw off my groove.
All right, so For the Record is good, but all the other ones.
You said it yourself. Robin Williams is iconic in this movie. You said it yourself that Robin Williams is just the genie. I think that is the importance of casting when you are doing something like this, because you want it to be memorable. I'm not saying that Jeremy Irons isn't memorable, and if the question was who had the best villain performance in all of animation, I might give it to you and I might be willing to cede the point, but the question is what is the greatest voice performance in an animated movie? And that is Robin Williams as the genie, from Prince Ali to Never Had a Friend Like Me, to just sitting there going through all of the stuff that you might see Robin Williams do. Impressions, being funny, being sad, being heartwarming and charming. He does. I brought it up in my rebuttal round. Your greatest part of your movie wasn't even done by your actor because he hurt himself and it had to be done by somebody else. That didn't happen to Robin Williams. Robin Williams is the greatest actor in an animated film.
All right, and time. I'm going to drop the competitors out. Asterisks on competitors based on how the open round went. Bringing in the judges, and then I'll see how the fuck they went about this. I somewhat did.
Have fun with it.
All right. We have myself, Zach, Shelton, and Nick Hernandez. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go first. All right. So, yeah, we have Scar from Jeremy Irons and Aladdin from Robin Williams. Both competitors were able to, point out the importance of both characters. The opening round was really close. So how I judge each arguments individually, with the open round as with the most weight, which made this most awkward. But but the opening round I gave to Jay because I just felt like he was able to go strong on separating Aladdin as a voice performance from Robin Williams versus Scar from Jeremy Irons. Madeeh actually had me in the 2-minute round because I feel like he did a good job of pointing out, kind of negating why Jeremy Irons did a great job. And in the closings, I feel like Jay was able to point out why Robin Williams is not just Robin Williams in his performance, and how, once again, that Jeremy Irons not even the strongest in his movie. So I ended up going with Jay. Zach.
I also went with Jay, more because I feel like he was able to better sell his voice performance. He talked about how there were better performances even in The Lion King, but that how he was able to bring more whimsy and depth to the genie. So for those reasons, I went with Jay.
There you go. And Nick, what are your thoughts, even though you don't get a choice, because I'm actually going to ask you?
Yeah, pretty much just the same thing. As a good argument. Madeeh did a good job selling Maple Leafs. But that's about it.
Absolutely. And I will say there are some questions where on paper there is a right answer, and I feel like Madeeh, Jay had the right answer, but Madeeh made it a lot closer. Despite the joke in the open round, I feel like this was actually a lot closer on paper than what you really would have thought. So Madeeh, even though it was a 3-0 sweep on that, I really genuinely think you did a fantastic job on it. So thank you, Zach and Nick, and we're gonna jump into question number 2. Question number 2. What is the best war film of the 2010s? All right. You guys know the drill. 60-second opening starting with Jay. So I'll have it up there, and then whenever you start.
Yeah, that was a really good round, buddy. It was a really good round. That was a lot of fun. Best war movie of the 2010s. I went with a little bit of a out of the box pick, where I think my opponent went with something that's a little bit more conventional. I went with Ender's Game, actually. The movie about child soldiers in space and genocide, which I think are the horrors of war that adults see, specifically like in World War II, which is, spoilers, something that's going to be brought up and talked about a lot in this round. But Ender's Game does it and well enough to explain it to children so that they can understand it. Orson Scott Card being a giant piece of shit, but Gavin Hood I think it's Gavin Hood. It's either Hood or O'Connor, did an amazing job with this film. It looks incredible. And the fact that they put a lot of pressure on young people says a lot about what actually happens in war. They, instead of it being 18-year-olds, it's 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds in this, and they have to live with the actions that they do. It's why I chose Ender's Game.
So I definitely did go with a more traditional war film. I went with Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge is not only one of the best war films of the 2010s, I think it's one of the better films of the 2010s in general. This movie was so good that it made me forget that Mel Gibson was an asshole. Like, if that's not saying something else, I don't know what is. Like, it's filled to the brim with really good. Like, everyone in this movie is phenomenally cast. I think everyone does a brilliant job in terms of their performances as well. From Andrew Garfield, who's nominated for an Oscar, Hugo Weaving, who I think gave his best performance of his career, and I've seen V for Vendetta now, and I still put that up there. You have Vince Vaughn doing like the drill sergeant thing, and he does a fantastic job. And this came out during a stacked year too, like overall, and it still did really well. Like, this came out around like Moonlight, La La Land time, Arrival, Hell or High Water were also the ones that year, and this stood up amongst those giants and was like, yeah, no, we're here to stay, and we're a worthy movie to watch. We're a great movie.
All right, and time. Now we're gonna go on to the 2-minute rebuttals, which I will figure out which one that is in a second. Jay, once again, you'll be first whenever.
I think everything it is that encompasses your movie and the story of Desmond Doss being, like a Seventh-day Adventist and being an individual, a pacifist, a man, a man who doesn't want to commit a horrendous act by taking another life, but wants to save lives is it's an endearing thing. The story is phenomenal, but I think Ender's Game does exactly that without having to go through the entire story, because you get every story beat from Hacksaw Ridge in Ender's Game. It's incredibly weird, I know, because nobody fucking saw this movie. Honestly, the biggest names in this movie at the time were Viola Davis and Harrison Ford. Nonso Awuzie is also in this movie, and if you guys don't know who that is, watch the greatest fucking TV show of all time, Ted Lasso. He plays Sam Obasanya's dad. This movie is great because, like I said in my 1 minute, it really shows the horrors of war, but makes it explainable for children. It isn't, honestly, it's kind of an allegory for World War II. Told you it would be brought up a lot. Ender ends up entirely annihilating a world, an entire species wiped off of the map of the galaxy. And the kid is 14, and he doesn't know how to handle himself. Oh, Ben Kingsley's in this fucking movie too. Almost forgot that. Ben Kingsley's in this movie too. But Ender goes through everything it is, and even tries to flirt with pacifism in his own movie. Doesn't want to hurt anybody. Really has never wanted to hurt anybody a day in his life, but ultimately ends up making that choice and being like, hey, I know that I don't want to do this, but I ultimately have to do this. It's one of the things that I think makes the movie intriguing and the story intriguing. And again, Orson Scott Card, giant piece of shit, but the movie speaks fucking volumes. And I'll end there.
So everything you said about your movie, I feel like in thought and in like theme is better than the actual movie. Like, I watched this movie and I was bored out of my fucking skull, man. I'm sorry. It's not great. Like, the cast, for all of them to be as good as, like, Aja Butterfield is a phenomenal actor. Haley Steinfeld is a phenomenal actress. Harrison Ford is in this, but he's doing his grumpy old man thing because he didn't care about acting at that point. Viola Davis is in it, but she's not given much to do. Ben Kingsley is in the movie, but he's for some reason Maori now. Like, he was Gandhi for a while, and then he was white, and then he's Maori. Sorry, Sir Ben Kingsley. I'm sorry, man. This movie was not good. Like, it's just the concepts of the movie are intriguing, and you're right. The child soldier thing is something that does need to be talked about, and the effects of genocide and things like that do need to be brought up. But a lot of this movie was rushed. Like, they have this whole idea of like, oh, we're gonna, we have to go to war with these people. They're going to do this, or with this species. We're going to do this. We have to do that. You guys have to become a family. Now you have to be competitors. A lot of it felt like it would have been done better as like a 6 to 8 episode TV show, where you're able to like actually have the characters be developed and like understand what their motivations are and why these kids are together and what their thought process is. They keep mentioning that he's a third. I had no idea what that was for like I think 30 minutes of the movie, and then suddenly like just hit me because they don't explain a lot because they don't get into it. Hacksaw Ridge is a 2-hour movie, and from start to finish, you understand what's going on. You figure out what his motivations are. You know what's going like you understand the characters, and the characters are all developed enough in that short 2 hours, and it's done better. There's nothing from Hacksaw Ridge that is really a drawback. Like it doesn't show the violence and say this is glorified.
And time. All right.
Doesn't count.
Sir Ben Kingsley, motherfucker. All right. So with that said,
He's actually Indian though, so leave him alone. He can play.
Is he?
Yes.
He looks whiter than anyone else.
I don't even know if he knows what he is.
But no, yeah, he's
ambiguous
like
as
half
shit.
Indian.
All right.
First he played Gandhi, and I was like, all right, sure. They dusted him up real good to make him look
especially
like,
in the 80s. They were like,
that toner, dog. That toner.
yeah, like come on.
It's not the 60s, so maybe they didn't just cast just for the sake of casting.
But he did the like head bobble to
He
the
did
side and
this.
shit when he talked, and I'm just
you know
like,
how long
dog,
I've had to
stop.
deal with this shit in my personal day-to-day since then.
No, let me get it the Aki way.
All right. I have a genuine question, and I'm not even joking.
We're gonna debate.
So that was just a question. One thing.
This one
Yeah.
will actually debate.
Thank you. Out of respect, Aaron, comment below how pissed you are. 4 minutes when the first person begins.
Go ahead, buddy.
First
You
of all,
didn't get to finish your thought.
No, that's right. You better keep that whole like discussion that we had in the first round too. Don't edit it out.
Please do.
Okay.
That's going to be the opening.
Listen.
That's even before my intro. That's all that's going to be. People are like, what? Did I click on the right?
Yes, I'm here for it. I'm so fucking here for it.
Okay. Hacksaw Ridge is just a really good movie, man. Like I rewatched it like a while ago, and it's just really good. Like the emotion still hits you. The little credit scenes where they have the interviews of like Doss and his family and the other people who were there still breaks my heart. I saw this movie I think around Remembrance Day, or I think you guys call it Veterans Day, maybe down there.
November 11th ish.
Yeah, November 11th. I saw it with a member of my ex's family who was in the military, and he was bawling out, crying like I was, a mess. It's just a really well-made movie. Performances are all top-notch. Like it just from top to bottom, it just works. And then Ender's Game I watched, and I was like, what the hell is this, man? Like it's rushed. None of the moments, like the big moments, work. Like I will never salute you, and then like 10 minutes later, he salutes him. I'm like, you didn't earn this, man. Like it's
35 minutes later.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just not. There's not enough character development in there for me to actually believe any of the progression that happens.
So what you're telling? So hold on, because I want to touch on this because you brought it up in your rebuttal round. You're like, I don't really believe that a lot of these kids are like supposed to be competing, but they're supposed to be family. You're literally
I get that your concept is, but they rush through it.
You're literally just describing boot camp. You want to talk about something that's rushed? Boot camp is a rushed process, and that's exactly what they had to do. So I don't like it's not that I take umbrage with your statement, but what I'm saying is it is correct, and that's the way that happens because that's what boot camp is for.
I get that that's what boot camp is for, but the way they showed it is just like it's literally like they rush through it and they're like, all right, this is what happens, and then most of this movie is the boot camp. If we're being real, the war portion of the movie is only the last like 20 minutes, give or take. Right?
It's actually like a 40-minute segment.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah. So you might not like portions of that. You might say that a little bit of the character development is slow. You might like everybody complains about Harrison Ford doing the Harrison Ford thing, but every time Harrison Ford tries to do something outside of what Harrison Ford is known for, people bitch about it. Like I don't respect that.
Stupid.
Of course
people
they are.
Stupid. But I'm saying that in this, you can tell he's not really dialed in. He's just reading the lines, and then
Or he's supposed to be a man who knows that he's sending people to their deaths and he can't get emotional about it. That's like the entire interplay between him and Viola Davis's character, because Major Graf is supposed to get them ready for war. Viola Davis's character is supposed to be the one who tries to put them back together when they come back. I actually really do like that interplay. That way you can see both sides and they don't need to be the same person. He doesn't have to show them any love or affection. That's not his job. His job is to create soldiers, which is exactly what a drill instructor does, which is exactly what your sergeants do, which is exactly what everybody in your military chain of command does.
The drill sergeant and the drill instructors, all those guys that you're talking about, they still do show emotion. They still understand the concept of war and what it is. Yes, they know that war is terrible and they're trying to prepare you for it, but they're not just, get out of my face, kid, and then just like being rude. Like he's specifically
he's higher up on the chain of command. He's selecting one who he knows has the ability to lead. And I really do, like I said, I really enjoy that, because he is selecting who he thinks is going to be the best leader, and he was right. But also, their drill instructor was Dink. Their drill instructor was the guy who's like, I will never salute you. And your problem was that later on he salutes him and he shows him respect, but that's an issue.
But it's 10 minutes later and there's no development of why he would do that.
There is, though, because he's no longer just a fucking platoon member. He is now a commander.
Just got promoted. He got promoted.
Exactly. Which is a sign of respect.
But not through him. Like, it was through an outside source. He just got promoted and then he's like, all right, well, now he outranks me.
Whoa. Time. Respect.
Oh, shoot.
Respect. I jumped in for a reason. It's all right. I respect it. 1 minute. We are going to be starting with Madeeh, so continue whatever shit you just said that was stricken from the record when you begin speaking.
A lot of the stuff in Ender's Game as a concept sounds wonderful and as a good movie or TV show, but it's just not shown off in that way. A lot of it is just, all right, here's a concept, and then we kind of just give it like a halfway thing and then go from there. The character development isn't really there. They do rush through the whole thing. And yes, boot camp is rushed, but there's a way to show it, and Hacksaw Ridge shows it in a way where you're showing the bond between these people grow and develop, but they're not doing it in a way that makes you feel like, oh, these guys didn't get along. In Ender's Game, it's just like, all right, well, here's what happened, and then this is a scene from like 2 weeks later, and then here's another scene from 2 weeks later on, and then that's it. They don't utilize their character development properly, and none of the characters really feel real. The conversations don't feel real. Hacksaw Ridge is a brilliant film from top to bottom. There's not really a weak point in it. The direction, the performances. It was nominated for, I think, 6 Oscars, including Best Picture that year, and it's just a phenomenal movie from top to bottom. It's the best since Private Ryan.
Sorry, I was trying to give you your time without jumping in. From the moment that Ender steps foot on the ship as a launchie, he forms a friendship with a kid named Eli. That's his only fucking source of humanity throughout a majority of his time at battle school. He has an antagonist, Beans, and Bonso. He gets traded to Bonso's army. Bonso is a fucking crazy motherfucker who tries to fight him. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. You can say that it's rushed, but this is all stuff that happens in a boot camp. This is all stuff that happens when you put people with hormones and testosterone together. It's everything that you want. I chose an unconventional movie, but both of our movies hit the exact same thing. You said that it didn't really feel like it was a good movie and that it was rushed. I think you not liking a movie doesn't make it a bad movie. I think that makes it subjective. There's a lot of respect that goes on between people who don't even like each other at the beginning of the film, and by the end of the film, they do become like a family and do exactly what is necessary, even when it breaks Ender's heart and mind.
And time. Perfect. All right. Going to drop the competitors out, bring the judge on, and then we'll come up with a winner for question number 2.
You talk about how Rico from Hannah Montana was his foil throughout the movie.
Yeah, for real. Moises Arias.
Rico. All right. We're going to start with Nick. Gentlemen, are you ready? You need some time to put your thoughts together?
I'm ready.
All right.
I got it.
Nick, we're going to start with you.
So yeah, really tough match here. Just kind of an interesting back and forth. I don't think that Jay did enough to really take down Hacksaw Ridge so much as he was trying to really sell the idea of Ender's Game. And I'll be honest, man. It sounds like it's like a killer book, but I think Madee's point about the execution being having a lot to be desired and being super rushed kind of won me over. So I went with Madee on this one.
All right, there's 1 point for Madeeh. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I'm also going with Madeeh, and I feel like he better sold his movie. I will agree it was a very close match, but like character development was a big thing brought up in here, and he better talked about how there was better character development. But he also said how Hacksaw Ridge was kind of rushed, and also how it would have been better maybe as a series instead of a movie to bring forth that character development more.
Okay. All right. So that is going to be the point for Madeeh, and then just me real quick. I actually would have been Jay on that one, which is crazy because in question number 1, Jay had the right answer and he didn't fumble it. Whereas in this one, Madeeh had the right answer. But unfortunately, Madeeh mentioned it at some point in his debate that I had watched it a few weeks ago, and kind of within his argument, you could kind of tell because he wasn't able to really defend his movie. And I feel like they went back and forth on the Ender's Game thing. And I feel like Jay was able to convince me, as someone who's never seen Ender's Game, that he was right more than Madeeh. Once again, as someone who's never seen Ender's Game, where Jay was wrong, and someone's seen Hacksaw Ridge. I feel like they just didn't talk about it enough. So I feel like the tie kind of went to Jay on that one. But you guys voted, and Madeeh is going to get the point. We're going on to question number 3. Write me out. All right, 1-1.
Hacksaw Ridge is fire, though. Hacksaw Ridge.
It's so good.
Yeah, like I said,
Holy shit.
like not even being biased is one of those things where I just didn't hear enough about it. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to be the
I mean,
tiebreaker
Jay,
there.
you didn't say nothing.
You guys just went
No,
on.
we
this was an Ender's Game debate, and I
fell into the trap.
Yep, and
Yeah,
that's,
fair enough.
that's
Fair
how
enough.
it goes. And yeah, and for the other judges, the trap worked, and for me, the other way. So yeah, sometimes that was a good version of judging, how judging can be different, and it was understandable on either side.
Yeah.
With that said, question number 3. What is the best film in the Mission Impossible series? And we're jumping back over to Madeeh on this one. I'm glad it's an exhibition because I messed up. Madeeh was supposed to go second at the closing round, but it ended up not mattering anyway. But anyway, Madeeh is going to be starting question number 3.
I feel like this is like the third day in a row I talked about Mission with you, man. Mission Impossible Fallout. It's by far, or not by far. This franchise is phenomenal. Other than 2, there are not really any misses. Don't start with me. But it's one of those franchises that just keeps. It's like a fine wine. It just keeps getting better the deeper and deeper it goes. And I'm excited for the new one. But Fallout is just a fantastic film. It's an action thriller, but also uses the character drama to express where the characters are, and uses the tension within the characters to build tension within the audience. I mean, it opens up with Ethan and Benji talking about whether Ethan gets scared or not, or whether he gets worried or anything like that. And then throughout the next 2.5 hours, you're feeling the tension that Ethan feels throughout the film. Like it's phenomenally well done how they mix that theme of fear into the characters and also within the audience itself.
I don't necessarily hate any movie in this franchise. I think they're all great on their own merit. I do happen to think that the best film in the Mission Impossible series, however, isn't one of the newer ones. I actually think it's Mission Impossible 3. Everybody knows Mission Impossible 3 for being I have a fucking bomb in my brain, and Tom Cruise doing the long run and shit. There's a lot that goes on in this. You can say what you will about like everybody's performances in everything that comes after Mission Impossible 2 or even 3, but like you've got Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, Philip Seymour Hoffman giving a fucking tour of force performance as Davian in this movie is by far, like, he does a great job of not ever really having to yell, but being one of the most intimidating villains the screen has ever actually seen. And I like the fact that because it's one of the older ones, it hasn't had to jump the shark in its own existence, so it can be a down-to-earth spy thriller.
And time. All right. 2 minutes. The rebuttals. Once again, Madeeh is going to start it off.
So I like 3, but it's one of those things where I feel like it saved the Mission Impossible franchise from going into obscurity, because after 2, people weren't really sure what the franchise was. So I want to give it the credit that it did, kind of put it on the right path, and we got to where we are now. but I don't think it's the best, and I think it's missing a couple things that the future movies do have. Like, it starts kind of figuring out its team by having Simon Pegg as Benji have a little bit more of a role. Ving Rhames does, do a little bit more in this movie as well, and Tom Cruise is obviously doing the Tom Cruise thing. But the issue with 3 is a lot of it ends up being like character moments of characters that we're not really that connected to. Like what's her name? Kerry Russell, who plays his like protege in this movie. You're supposed to feel like there's some history there, and the history is kind of brought up throughout the movie. But when she dies at the beginning, it's like, oh, well, all right, that sucks. She's dead. Like, it's kind of like a Drew Barrymore from Scream moment, where it's like, all right, you have this actress, and then she's just gone. And a lot of the movie kind of hinges on that moment where she dies, because then Tom Cruise goes back into this whole thing. But it doesn't really, there's not enough emotional force behind it, because you're not really connected to her as a character or to their relationship, and you're not sure what it really was until like they explain it like an hour later. In Fallout, all these characters. We've been with them for at least a movie now. In terms of Rebecca Ferguson, you have Solomon Lane, you have Henry Cavill, who does a really good job as a villain in between playing Superman. That whole thing is still insane. Alec Baldwin, who should have learned that guns are dangerous in this movie, and Ving Rhames doing a phenomenal job, Simon Pegg doing a phenomenal job. Everyone in this movie is great, and it's great that they're continuing on, not just establishing in that one. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize the time until just now.
I think what makes Mission Impossible 3 that kind of like really great and like the best moment in like the best one in the franchise is the fact that Ethan's 1 foot out of the door already. He is making a life decision, has semi-retired essentially from working the IMF. I brought it up in my opening. I think one of the things that I like about this, and one of the reasons why it is one of the best ones, is because, and I used the phrase in my opening, he hasn't jumped the shark yet. There's a lot that goes on in this. He rappels down, he rappels up, he swings on a fucking, he does the rope swing, the fulcrum swing, which is a really dope thing, especially when you know that he actually did it. Learned Italian. Like he Tom Cruise, as much as you want to say whatever you want to say about Tom Cruise, TC legend, yeah, batshit insane, crazy, phenomenal actor. And honestly, I think just that opening scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Cruise with the gun to old girl's head is by far one of those things that shows you how good of an actor Tom Cruise is. Because if you rewatch that scene, he goes through all 5 stages of emotional fucking disturbance, from like grief, depression, bargaining, anger, acceptance. Like, he goes through all 5 stages in a matter of like 5 minutes. It's ridiculously insane how good this man is at acting. But this is one of the more down to earth and grounded. You can say what you want about like the Task Force X bomb inside the head. He's not hanging off of planes. He's not running down the Burj Khalifa or anything like that. This man is literally just here. He's still a spy. He hasn't gotten to that elevated, I'm a legendary, nothing can kill me, aim for the bushes on the other side type of cat. This is the quintessential movie that I would tell people to watch in the franchise. If they're like, I don't know, man, I've watched all of them and I'm still not feeling any of them, I would tell them to go back and rewatch 3, because 3 is the most entertaining. It has the best villain, and it's the best one in the series.
And time already. 4 minutes. Going to be interesting to see how y'all go about this motherfucker. Start when you begin. Heineken's your kick.
Okay, so I have this to say. That opening scene, the scene itself is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Absolutely brilliant. Both like Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Cruise just doing an absolutely great job. I hate that it's at the beginning. So much. I want it to be where it is in the sequence of the movie, because when it comes up in the movie, I want to have that tension of these 2 characters as they've been going head to head for this whole time. I want to see it take place in the context of when it was, not at the beginning and then cutting away when it's actually supposed to happen. I hated that they put it at the beginning, man.
I actually thoroughly loved the fact that they put it at the beginning, because it gives us, it's what latches us on to the beginning of the movie to make us interested in it. Not that everybody wasn't already interested in it, but like you said about 2, like it was kind of a fall off. This was a resurgence for it, and this is the one that kind of cemented it as that franchise going forward. I just think that ramping it up and up and up isn't the thing that is necessarily what makes it the best, because at this point in time he's become a superhero. This is still him, kind of a grounded reality human being. This is a dude who goes through some traumatic ass shit, like watching that girl, I can't remember her name, Julia, get shot in the head, and then the bomb blowing up in Kerry Russell's head, that noise that it makes when it goes like, and not being able to talk to anybody about it, especially going home. Shit like that is heartbreaking, but Tom Cruise is able to like build his way through it instead of becoming this calloused kind of super soldier that we see in 4, 5, 6, and ultimately we'll see in 7.
I think the fact that, like, listen, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do really enjoy 3. I think it's a really well-made movie. I just don't think that it has the same level of depth as the future movies do. I think 4 is when they really started putting it together, like more so, like in terms of like, yeah, he's calloused, but there's a reason he's calloused, and it starts with what happens in 3, because he has to, get Julia on the run and like basically change her entire life, and then that comes to fruition again in Fallout when he realizes that, oh, Solomon Lane has been trying this and setting this up to fuck with me this whole time. Like and you talk about the scene between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Cruise. Solomon Lane, what's his name? Sean Harris, I think his name is. The scene where Ving Rhames is trying to get the microchip out of his neck, and Tom Cruise is just going back and forth with him. I put that on the same level, man. Like, it's such a brilliant performance by both of them, just going back and forth. And there's that line where he says, "I wonder if you ever chose not to take this mission," sort of thing. There's so much of it that is also prevalent and present in the 6th movie. Yeah, they get bigger on the stunts, but the thing is, the stunts fit around the characters, not the characters doing the stunts for no reason. Like, you get why he jumped into a helicopter and chased him. It's because, oh, he thinks there's no other choice, and he's so mad that these guys took someone he loved and put them in harm's way. Like, he's just seen Julia, and he's like, these guys did this on purpose just to fuck with me, and also possibly kill.
To a degree, I understand and I respect what it is that you're saying. But what you're also saying is that without this movie, without my movie, without Mission Impossible 3, none of that would have been able to happen. So what?
But that's how sequels work, man.
But what I'm taking away from that is, without the character work, without the groundwork that was laid in the best one, Mission Impossible 3, we wouldn't have been able to get to the newer ones. And I think choosing a newer one kind of defeats the purpose of which one is going to. I'm sorry, I have a phone call coming in. Kind of defeats the purpose of everything that's going on later on in the movies, because without this movie you wouldn't be able to have that.
And time, boom.
Sorry, guys, I had somebody call me like right in the middle of my statement, and it threw me off.
You got to take it. You good?
No. I blocked. I didn't block it. I just
blocked. Unknown number. All right. 1 minute closing, starting with Madeeh. No. Yeah, Madeeh this time. Who cares? We care.
All right, so I barely talked about the stunts, but let's be real. The stunts in Fallout are quite possibly the best stunts put on screen. The fact that he learned how to fly a helicopter and then does some incredibly dangerous maneuvers while flying it, and does like a whole helicopter chase scene where tries to get from one helicopter to another and rams them, sort of thing. It's phenomenal. Base jumping out of a plane through a storm over Paris, incredible. The set pieces, there's no denying that they're phenomenal. The part that sets Mission Impossible Fallout ahead for me is you get that character development, and you have it with characters that you care about. Yeah, 3 came first, and then obviously you have those characters continue on into 6. But that happens with every franchise. I couldn't care less about Deathly Hallows Part 2 if Chamber of Secrets didn't come out. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where sequels improve on what happened if they're done right, and Fallout does that in spades. Every character is done brilliantly. The Ferguson Cruise relationship is done great. The villain is fantastic. The stunts are amazing.
Say what you will about Solomon Lane being a great villain. He is a good villain. Don't get me wrong. He's a good villain. Don't get me wrong. I still think, just based off of what happens, what we see from villains in our respective movies, Philip Seymour Hoffman gives a better performance. The fact that you have Philip Seymour Hoffman pretending to be Tom Cruise, who is pretending to be Philip Seymour Hoffman, beating the shit out of himself, is by far one of the weirder scenes that I've ever seen in a movie. I absolutely fucking loved it. Watching him do parkour is great. Watching Philip Seymour Hoffman's big ass, because that's a chunky dude, that's a big boy, doing some scenes like that is amazing. If we're just going to talk about like stunts and scenes, I'm talking about what overall makes it a good movie and what makes it the best of the franchise is how it makes you feel about the characters. Starting at the middle of a movie is a great choice, especially when it amps up everything and doesn't turn him into a super soldier spy who cannot die. This one actually gives you stakes, and it's one of the reasons why it is the best in the franchise.
Best in the franchise, unfortunately. Stricken for the record, because that is the question. All right, we're going to drop the competitors out, and we're going to bring on the judges, right? Meow. All right, we're going to start with Zach on this one. Do you guys need time to put your thoughts together?
Nope.
All right, Zach, let's hit it.
I went with Jay on this one more because I feel like right from the beginning, he just immediately sold me more on Mission Impossible 3, especially with the more down-to-earth and grounded and not jumping the shark, but also how he said like that opening scene really just showed how great of a performance Tom Cruise can give with showing all the different levels that he was able to portray. So for that, I went with Jay.
Yeah, and this is one for me as a huge fan of this franchise. The approach I went with this one is after hearing these two competitors debate, which movie am I more likely to want to put on right now based on the competitor's argument? And my gut instinct would have been Fallout, just based on just kind of my biases of like, yo, this is like my favorite movie in the franchise, arguably. But Jay was able to convince me that like, yo, everything that you set up in the beginning and then how it kind of, crisscross applesauce and, misdirects and goes around. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm not going to lie. It's all good. And then just, it turned into an argument of the villains. And since it went down that path, I do got to agree. If we're just going based on the villains, Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain performance is better overall than Solomon Lane. So it's tough to say because I genuinely like Fallout more as a movie, but Jay was able to convince me that Mission Impossible 3 is better. And that's sometimes how it goes in debate because it goes against your gut as a viewer. So I am also going to go with Jay on this one. Nick, what would you have thought?
Pretty much the same thing. It's a very, very tough match. I think that Jay's point about it being that Tom Cruise is this franchise and that his best performance is in 3, I think really did sell me on it. And the fact that they kept going around to he's basically a superhero now. He's what John McClane eventually became. It's kind of, yeah, that's true. So I want Jay on this one.
All right, so that is going to be 2-1 in Jay's favor. We're going to bring them back in right now. Going into question number 4, which is interesting as shit. Who knows what this even means? Now I understand that it's an exhibition match just based on this question alone. So all the other ones were semi-straightforward. What is the most unique double feature to watch, inspired by Oppenheimer and Barbie, which I forgot that was the basis of this because in my mind, I'm like, all right, I have an opinion on what a double feature is. Let's just hear what you guys have to say. I'm literally going to write the most notes on this because I have no opinion, and this is going to be wild. We are going to be starting with Jay on this one. 1 minute.
That was a really good last round, buddy. That was a lot of fun. I went a little bit weird with mine. My choices don't seem to make sense, but overall, the interconnectivity of what I actually mean by my double feature choice is holes and everything everywhere all at once. Now, on the surface, these movies do not look like they could go together whatsoever. When you take a 1-inch step into the fucking puddle that is the subtext of these movies, these are both movies that have to deal with intergenerational trauma, the trauma that grandparents or parents are putting on their children or their entire families, with Stanley Yelnats the first disrespecting Madame Zeroni and it going all the way back and landing in Stanley Yelnats III's lap, played by Shia LaBeouf, having to dig them up But Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie of nothing but intergenerational trauma, from Gong Gong being the individual, the overbearing patriarch of a family, to having an overbearing mother, to having a daughter who doesn't necessarily live up to the expectations that parents have. They're different in ways, but they are similar in more than not, and it's why I chose both of these as my double feature.
I was trying to figure out where your through line was on this. I was like really close, but I almost.
No, they both dig up holes, bro. There's a hole in the fucking.
I was gonna say there's a hole in the fucking bagel. Is that
there's
what
a
you're
hole in
going
the
with
bagel? Yeah, there's a
That's
hole in the
literally
bagel.
what I was thinking. Like, Jay, you're a fucking idiot.
No, I'm actually really fucking smart. Fuck both of you.
And that's why I could tell this is already be a lot harder than I was expecting going in. I'm pissed.
I have an argument for that later, but don't worry, I'm gonna get there. Okay, so I had a couple options that I was gonna go with. I was thinking Lord of the Rings and Elf as a possibility, because all elves matter, and
Nice.
there's hope for humanity if you want there to be. Snowpiercer and Willy Wonka, because I'm sure they both know what babies taste like.
Yikes.
Dodgeball and SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, because 2004 and David Hasselhoff go together. But I actually went with I got one more. Actually, I got one more. High School Musical and Up in the Air, because they're soaring and they're flying.
Because you want to kill yourself after.
You know how long I worked on those? I was like trying to figure out other ones that were just stupid as shit. But the one I went with, and the one I'm most proud of, is that Cars can be sad and Cars can be happy. So I went with Cars, the Pixar movie, and Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. These are both movies about someone who is not necessarily happy in their life and has things that they need to change, and finds a woman that helps him figure out what he wants and shows him the better way to live. And it doesn't necessarily turn out the way that it should for both, but that's where it is.
All right.
I like how I spent 40 seconds of my 1 minute just making fucking stupid ass.
I will admit, as a judge, we are gonna need more after that. But I did love for the comedy.
That was great, dog. I was dying,
Honestly,
bro.
Worth it.
I said the all elves matter to my girlfriend, and she was like, "I'm fucking leaving."
I'm dead. I don't care if you're going to be a doctor. I'm out. All right. So our two answers are Holes and Everything Everywhere All at Once, which definitely sounds like a weird porn double feature. And then Cars and Drive, because after you see Owen Wolf as a talking car, you're going to want to drive.
Henry,
wow.
How many holes do you have?
Stop talking about my holes. I'm getting uncomfortable. 2 minutes win. Jay being.
It's me.
Holes!
Both of these movies deal with curses a little bit differently. Granted, we have Eartha Kitt, the baddest bitch in the entire universe, playing Madame Zeroni, who ends up cursing Stanley Yelnats the first in Holes. And then you have the curse of intergenerational trauma, the hate that can be perplexing and spread throughout a multiverse if you believe in that. And that's Pull the Lever, Crunk. Not the movie, though. Not the movie. Fuck off. But like, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to movies with intergenerational trauma. Sometimes the trauma comes and it's the exact same, and it's your grandparents fucking you over and just being abusive. Sometimes it's being neglectful and forgetting. It's more emotionally abusive in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I think the reason why these two go together so well is because you're looking at two separate. Excuse me, I got a burp. You're looking at two separate families dealing with something that is almost incredibly similar in scope, but in completely different ways, and it not being the exact same thing. The back-to-back, you get nothing but hilarity from Holes. There's a little bit of depression there with Bud from The Cosby Show getting killed and kissing Kate Barlow, going on her little revenge scheme. Everybody in both of these movies is giving you 100%. John Voight, Susan Sarandon, Shia LaBeouf, fucking Fonzie. God damn it, I'm mad I forgot his name right now. It's not. Yeah.
Henry Winkler.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why I could. I don't know why I couldn't remember the Winkle's name. And then you have James. Just everybody and everywhere. Just everybody in everything, everywhere, all at once is fire. Everybody deserved an Oscar for their roles in that movie. Holes didn't get it, but it should have.
Time. I'm just genuinely curious. John Voight as Mr. Sir, is that what was confusing you, Madeeh? Because I feel like that was the timing of your face.
I think it was Susan Sarandon.
Yeah,
because
you're muted. But
and fucking Tim Blake Nelson.
No, that one doesn't count. Strike that from that.
Yeah.
But Madeeh,
It is. He's right.
If she
Strike
white,
that from the fucking record.
White, she's sort no. That is double that on the record. He's just an idiot. Madeeh, 2 minutes.
I can be.
Sorry, I got confused because I was like, Susan Sarandon's not in either of these movies.
I was so confused.
She's white, she's red, and she's Rachel McAdams, bro.
And she old. All right. Okay, I promise I'm not going to make any more random jokes, unfortunately.
Please do.
So I chose Cars and Drive because I wanted something that doesn't go on too long, but also can show you two different ways of telling a similar story. Obviously, in Cars, we have Lightning McQueen, who's thinking he's hot shit, and then has this thing happen where he starts coming down to earth because he starts falling in love, not only with Sally, but also with the people of Radiator Falls. Like he begins to look into himself and realize that he wants to be better. Drive is similar, where he's a stunt driver by day and then like a getaway driver by night. But because he meets with Carey Mulligan's character and helps her out, he realizes, you know what? My day-to-day has not been that great. I want to help her out. I want to be someone that can be with her and take care of her. And that's what he goes through in this movie. It's a really, really well-made movie, and it's honestly probably underrated. I don't think enough people have seen it. And it's just a riveting and fantastic film. If you want to talk about fantastic film, yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once is fantastic. Holes is a lot of fun, and it's great. But Cars and Drive, I would say, are probably on equal level of that, where Cars is still a fun movie. It's still nice to watch, and it's a nice kind of balance to the seriousness of Drive, where Everything Everywhere All at Once and Holes are both kind of around the same line, give or take, where Holes is a little bit more of a almost Disney movie. And Cars is definitely more of a counterbalance to what Drive is, because Drive is definitely dead serious, and Cars is the one that balances it out and says, all right, here's a nice, relaxing, fun version of what we just watched. And obviously, they both have cars. Like, I'm not going to skip over that part. Here's something I thought Jay was going with when I saw his movies. I thought he was going to pick Knives Out instead of Holes, and I thought that would have been a better choice because, again, it does still deal with generational trauma because that whole family's fucked up because of what happened previously. And also, they both talk about food holes. Let's be real. There's the bagel hole, and then there's the donut hole.
Respectfully. All right. We are going to go into the 4-minute opening when the first person begins speaking.
All right. So, do you mind if I go first on this one? I've let you go first on the last. Man. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
go for it.
So you brought up that you thought that I would go with Knives Out, which also deals with intergenerational trauma. The whole family is incredibly super fucked. The question is, what is the most unique double feature? I chose two movies in Holes and Everything Everywhere All at Once because it is a unique take on what intergenerational trauma looks like between families, instead of it being the logical choice of choosing one of the more popular movies of the last 5 years. I actually went with a movie from like 2005, 2006 that like a lot of people remember from their childhood but aren't raving about. But if I want to give you a double feature, I want to give you a unique double feature that'll give you a little bit of perspective, not only insight on like my thoughts and feelings about that, but also my thoughts and feelings about like what I think connects movies and like a little bit of what makes me a movie fan. That's why I chose these two, and that right there is the epitome of this question.
All right, no, that's I mean, I get what your thought process is on it, and I understand, but I still think that you can have two movies that are, they're popular and they're both from recent years, but you can still have them be viably different. Like Cars came out 2007, Drive came out 2011, both extremely vastly different movies. I don't think there's really, a lot that people would be like, oh yeah, I'm a Cars fan and I also like Drive.
It's Radiator Springs, by the way.
Sorry,
not false.
My bad.
But you didn't. I'm not calling you out on that because you didn't call me out on the Sigourney Weaver thing. I was just giving you a heads up.
I was just confused when you said.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. The thing is, like, when you talk about unique pairings, you want to have some kind of through line, and yeah, you do have yours. Yours is definitely less obvious in Holes. Like, yes, there is the generational trauma, but it's not necessarily something that is at the forefront as much as it is in Everything Everywhere All at Once. In Holes, it's more just about, all right, this family's been through some shit. They had this whole curse thing happen, and now Shia LaBeouf's character is gonna try and go through life, and then he has a bad hit when he.
I think you're only looking at it from like superficial angle, but you also have to remember that Henry Winkler is the only individual in the family who actually thinks that the curse of the Yelnats family is real until Stanley Yelnats the third, until Caveman pulls fucking Zero up the hill. We actually find out that it was a legit thing. So like there is that, and then you have Evelyn in the movie who doesn't believe that her daughter could be Jojo Tabaki, as she calls her throughout a majority of the movie. There's a lot that actually goes in, and these are really interconnected, not in like they're the same movie, but they do have a lot of the same through lines. And again, it's why I chose this, because it is a unique double feature.
I mean, yeah, like no one's going to argue it's not unique. I'm just saying that if you're going to say which one is more unique, having two films that are on a surface level not the same, but have like on the second level where they are quite connected. I think Cars and Drive are way more different, and that's what makes it a better and more unique pairing. Because a lot of times people will go through pairings and be like, all right, we'll watch Cars and then we'll watch Cars 2 because it's an obvious fucking answer.
Obviously,
what makes it very unique and very different is picking something that's from like an auteur director that came out, had a stupid trailer and the whole controversy with that, and then just gives you a really brilliant, dark, riveting movie as a contrast to what you just saw in Cars, or the other way around, whichever order you want to watch it in, because either way you're getting the same message, and it's just about, you see what the character progression is, but you're also seeing it in very wildly different takes, very wildly different mediums, but you're seeing essentially the same message come across in both movies.
And time. All right. That debate was unique. We're going to jump into your 1 minute closing, starting with Jay, whenever you begin.
Holes gives you a really unique take on a family, especially like a family that has more than like an intergenerational household in of itself. A family where the grandparents live with the parents who have the son. The same thing happens in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Gong Gong has come to visit, living with Evelyn and living with Wayman. And then you have their daughter Joy, who's there for a little bit. There's a lot that goes into these movies. Both of these movies are more uniquely selected to go together without it being incredibly obvious. And I think that's what the heart of this question is what is the most unique. You chose two movies with cars in them. You chose two movies where people drive professionally. I chose two movies about intergenerational trauma that expresses itself and manifests itself in completely different ways, and at the end of the day gives you hope for these things in Holes, with the family becoming rich and never losing their roots, and with Everything Everywhere.
Time.
So saying the only through line between Cars and Drive being that they both have professional drivers in them is a very surface level thing. And I did mention at the beginning that they're both about a character who rediscovers themselves after finding a woman that changes their life, and some of the things that they have to go through. Now, obviously, the end result is vastly different because of the circumstances of the movie. But I also think that you picked two unique movies that make a good pairing, whereas I picked a more unique pairing because they're two vastly different movies that work well together. And I think that's kind of where some of our separation was on terms of how this pairing should work. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. I think Knives Out still works better because it's still a unique movie and it still does tackle generational trauma. And I think it does it better than Holes does. So I think there's a better option for your for your double feature than the option that you picked.
And time. All right, we're going to drop the competitors out, and we're going to decide if this is going to be Game Over Man or go to the blind round. This time we're going to start back with me. This is one of those bummer ones because on paper there's a right answer. On paper there's a WTF answer. Me as a judge, someone who's voted up to this point, whether officially or unofficially, for one person, the consistency, and me trying my best to vote against this person for this one specifically because I didn't want to seem biased. But unfortunately, I got to go with Jay on this one because of the way he was able to construct the unique double feature. Obviously, we were joking at the beginning of like, what the hell are you talking about? But as he legitimately put together an argument, I understand what he's going for. And he was able to knock the cars drive debate of like, hey, you're talking about just cars. And Madeeh in the closing really made it a lot closer because he reminded me, oh, yeah, I did forget that he brought the love interest and the character thing. But I do feel like he wasn't able to knock. He brought in the Knives Out thing, trying to knock holes in that. But I feel like he wasn't really able to knock the generational trauma and all that comparison with holes and everything everywhere all at once. So I'm glad these are two of my buddies. So they do genuinely believe that if I'm voting for someone, it's because I actually believe that in my judging abilities. But unfortunately for Madeeh, I am voting for Jay once again. 1-0 Jay. Zach, you are next.
It actually took me until the final minute of Madeeh to get my answer because it was that close. I'm actually going with Madeeh more because I felt like he was able to bring in more than just the cars thing for the interconnectivity, but also he brought up the point of like they are so vastly, it's unique because they're so vastly different that's what makes that double feature more unique. And for that, I went with Madeeh.
All right. All the weight is on your shoulders. Nick, what are your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, this was tough, man. Let me just say I love this question and this debate was fantastic.
You think, yeah.
It was a really hard back and forth between both of them. I ultimately decided to go with Jay. I think that he was able to say, that both of those movies, Holes and Everything Everywhere All at Once, deal with generational trauma, but in different ways and different perspectives, and that makes it a more worthwhile experience altogether. And yeah, that was kind of a sticking point for me. So Jay.
All right. So with that said, with the score of 3-2-1 and a new record of 7-4 and 1 KO, and your winner, Jay Burnz, the Arsonist. I said that backwards. Jay,
what's up, buddy?
What are your thoughts on the ruling of that final question, and then what are your thoughts overall on the match?
So I never want to come out feeling like I'm flat out attacking the judges when I understand what it is that they're saying. It's just people. I don't think, Zach, this isn't an attack on you. I don't want you to think it because you didn't vote for me. I think that in my debate, knocked it well enough and explained a little bit. But I understand going with what you went with. Henry, not even having any fucking clue where this question was going at the beginning when I said my answers, being able to sell you is by far like one of my greatest fucking like a feat.
Like I literally went into this. I'm like, all right, cool. We're going with the blind round. And I actually like the blind round question. And then you literally turned me and it pissed me off because just from a judging perspective, as someone who's been in the thing where I'm like, one person voted for the same person all in all. And especially me and you have a really close friendship. We're partners, but it's like one of those things where if you actually hear me and see my notes, it's like, damn, dude, that's just how the tables crumbled. And I know Madeeh is, as a person, he's going to like believe that. So I do genuinely, this is a perfect example of where I'm okay showcasing that. But you did a fantastic job of just selling me on the Ender's Game thing. Barely, actually. Not a fantastic job. Barely. He just did a lesser job of defending Hacksaw Ridge. So that was the only one where like he should have won that one and he just dropped the ball. But the other ones, it was just fucking neck and neck. And then just there was literally a hair on this one. And ironically, this was the one where I'm like, you really did win this one. And I was shocked.
My entire thought process was just the intergenerational trauma between two families until he just kept bringing up other things and was like, oh, well, I think that Knives Out would have been a better choice. And I was like, okay, there's a little intergenerational trauma there, But like there's also the curse aspect, there's that supernatural aspect in it, and it goes deeper and deeper. I only had one talking point on this until we started this round, as a matter of fact, to tell you the God's honest truth, and it was just the differences in intergenerational trauma between these two movies, between an Asian American household and a household full of immigrants on both sides. Actually, there's another talking point. Boom. Fucking it's weird how that happens. No, this was a lot of fun. I had an absolute blast. Madeeh's always fun to argue against. It was really hard because I was actually in the middle of watching Fallout last night after my stream, and I ended up falling asleep. And I'm really glad that, like, I think we respected each other enough.
What the fuck? What?
Too late.
Hmm.
I was pissed drunk, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's not the movie's fault, you cunt.
Fuck you. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was
What?
pissed drunk. But at least we respected each other enough to not bring up the fucking arm cocking thing that Henry Cavill does in it. And it was like, honestly, I didn't really think that we arm cock. I didn't really think that round one, because it was going to come down to our 1 minute or 2 minute in our closing. There's nothing that we could have said.
Clearly, because there was no fucking open debate.
There was nothing that we could have said in the open debate that would have swayed any one of the judges.
I respect that. In hindsight, knowing that you guys took the rest of the debate seriously, I do respect the approach. I hate it because that's not the game, but I do respect it because I understand that if there's really, we all know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying. Madeeh, this was great. Nick, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for your votes. Thank you guys for your time. And I'm really surprised, even for 4 questions, this is as short as it is, because usually it's a little bit longer. It's usually
that's how I roll, baby.
Yeah,
that's how I roll.
Let's say it's you. Let's say it's you, and it's not the fact that like we skipped over an entire 6-minute portion of this because we just didn't have the first. It
was literally only 4 minutes, and I let 2 minutes of them roll. Going into
wait, hold up before you do that. So what you're saying is you're gonna do the Mission Impossible 3 thing, and you're gonna put that.
Madeeh Rehman, unfortunately, you did come in second place on this one. What are your thoughts on the ruling of that final question and just overall your performance on this?
Okay, first of all, I want to say something about what Jay said. I'm so fucking happy because the fact that Jay said he came in with only one option, and then something I said, and this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, where you have to, like, all right, what your opponent says, you have to kind of figure out how to combat that. And he comes out as like, all right, I got to make it about more than just intergenerational trauma. I got to make it about the curse thing. I got to make it about a family of immigrants. Everything that he said, the fact that he had to come up with those on the fly, I fucking love it. I'm so happy that happened, because that's what makes like these debates more fun, right? Is when you're able to throw them off and then they give something back that they haven't thought of before.
And that's literally what I said at the beginning, because I knew both of you as individual debaters, but also what you could collectively bring together and how you could bounce off each other. And that was a fantastic thing. And I touched on that earlier. Jay's going to have minimal notes.
So good.
And you guys,
I love that happened, man. I honestly, I couldn't change anything about it. I love that happened. I am pissed that Jay fell asleep during Fallout, because it is the best movie, and I'm going to fucking stand by it.
Take my vote back. We're going to the blind round.
And fuck, no, never mind. Actually, you can have. I don't like the fucking blind round, man. I'm telling you. Honestly, listen, you know what I do for work. The blind round is more stressful. Like, honestly speaking, like the blind round is more stressful than what I do for work. Like, I cannot stand this. But no, honestly, I'm really happy with how the debate ended up. Like, even though I lost, I'm sad that I lost. But honestly, the fact that Jay and I had to got on camera for an hour and a half and just debated and had fun with it, and we're respectful to each other, and like we're able to talk out our points and then have a panel of judges discuss whether they thought we were right or not. I'm down with that, because Jay is one of those guys who I honestly very much respect in this league, and he's someone that I've been like looking forward to playing. We just haven't ever been matched up, and then suddenly we had this exhibition. We're like, yeah, let's fucking go. But I had I won, had I been knocked out, I don't care. As long as I got to debate with this guy, and the fact that all of our debates, and you guys can comment on this, all of our debates, it wasn't like it was like a one-sided thing. No,
I'm telling you, it was literally 49-51 every question. It's just, unfortunately, like I said, I'm not trying to knock you as a debater.
I get it, man.
Dropped the ball on the Hacksaw Ridge one because I feel like you had the easy answer, and I feel like you knocked him on Ender's Game good enough. You just didn't also
push up.
hype up
Yeah, no,
Hacksaw
I
Ridge,
get it.
and it just went. And I know Jay said he fell into the trap on that, but me as a judge, which he won the point for that, but for me as a judge, that's one of the things where I felt like you fell in the trap of only talking about his movie, and he had the uphill
That's
battle,
fair.
and he did a good job defending it.
And that's a whole other thing, right? Like judges, they sometimes you hear it as one way, sometimes, and that's why we have three instead of just like one
Facts.
guy. And
Shout out Eric Knoll back in the day, pissed me off. I should have beat Evan.
Honestly, I'm still mad that I lost to Manning Franks like 5 years ago. All right. I love you,
my
man.
loss against
But
Evan and
goddamn it.
Chance back in the day are the only two where I'm like, are you fucking
I'm
kidding
like,
me?
you had one judge, and it's just because
I called Bill Hader as in the It Chapter 2. God damn it, I should have won that debate. But anyway, overall
we're not going through our own generational fire.
overall speaking, like I mentioned at the very beginning, this is a thing that back in the day, at no point would you, I mean, obviously now your record's closer to 500, so now it's technically retrospectively looking like what we kind of talked about earlier at the beginning, but it's because when you are at the top, and this coming from me on a 3-game losing streak as a former champion, when you're at the top, you're facing none but hitters, dog. And like that's just unfortunately what's happening. And this league
has
has
so
exhibition
many
or not, I don't know. So I don't even know if this officially affects your record or not. But you guys
I think
are
the
both in
420
the
match
tournament.
increased my record. So
Yeah, I honestly genuinely don't know. So I'm just going with the punches, thinking that it is because Aaron never specifically said to me exhibition, to you so I'm just, as of right now, I'm saying 6-5. You might still be 6-4, but with that said, going into the tournament, you're still going to be a in the tournament, and also you're still going to be, regardless of your seeding, a highly qualified like opponent for someone, and like that's all we want to see as an audience.
Right. Like, listen, our league has a lot of hitters. Like,
lots.
You've been a champ in this league. Jay is not like, Jay's a hitter.
He's one of my few losses, and that's crazy.
Exactly. Like, here's the thing. Everyone I've lost to, I have no problem with the fact that I lost to them. Like, I lost to Jeremy. I lost to Jay. I don't know if it was in this league, but I lost to Amaru once. And, like, everyone I've lost to, I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it. Like, they're everyone's got that dog in them. You know what I mean? Like, it's there's no shame in it for me. And everyone can bring it in this league.
This league is called Movie Battleground, but it should be called Debate Dogs because we just got so many of them. Like,
there you go. Fucking trademark right there.
Trademark that shit, bitch.
But on it, like I have no shame in any of the losses that I have. Like every single time, I'm like, yeah, no, I fucking get it. Like I'm going back after the matches. I'm like, I see what the judge's point was. I could have done that better. I could have done this better. And that's what it is, right? Like whether I'm 6'5", 6'4", 1-7, who cares? Like as long as I'm like doing what I can.
And as long as you're 6 foot, that's all that matters.
Exactly. That's what she says anyway. But like I said, man, as long as I'm like having fun and able to like have a good debate, that's all I care about. Like the record is nice, but
that's why I said at the very beginning, I'm as me as just a as a showrunner, not specifically in this league, obviously, but I'm just here, in the hosting chair today. But as a showrunner, I was a little upset with you guys of how you're approaching that. But even after the fact, I do get it as just as a fellow debater. I get why you guys went about it. But the fact that you guys took the rest of the debate seriously and we had a fire ass match regardless of the score. Like if you just for some reason are a weirdo and skip to the end of the video and just see the score, or you just saw the result of it, you're like, oh, it was one-sided. Jay beat the shit on. But no, this is literally like we said. Like even
I don't think there's any
that wore 3-0. Technically, 2-0, but 3-0.
Yeah.
Everyone was still like, this was a good match. You know what I mean? This was a good question, and that's all we want as in a league as a whatever.
If I'm losing 51-49 on every single round, I'm happy.
Have it.
You know what I mean? Like I know that I can do better, but it's still like it was that close. I'm good with it. Like absolutely. I got no problems with it.
So with that said, I'm going to drop you out. Congratulations on making it to the tournament, and I'm excited as a fellow debater to potentially face you for the first time officially, and if not, go against Jay again. But officially. But we'll see what happens. So with that said, my name is Henry Confidential. Big shout out to Nick Hernandez and Zach Shelton for helping me judge. A big shout out to Eric Knoll for doing all the things behind the scenes. I didn't make any of these banners except for, all the stupid ones. Lamb and tuna fish, arm cock. Move on, please, guys. You guys are talking for way too long. Sir Ben Kingsley, put some respect on that name, and then pull the lever crock. But with that said, shout out to Aaron for all that. Shout out to Jay and Madeeh. I genuinely do not know if this is an exhibition or not. So regardless of whether the records got affected or not, both of these gentlemen are going to be in the tournament. Jay may be the number one seed. We will see. And Madeeh is definitely going to be higher ranked, as well as, me and all these other fantastic competitors. So shout out to you guys for watching, making this far in the video. This is Movie Battleground here on TMG Entertainment. Make sure you check out everything TMG trivia for all that stuff that they're going to be posting at some point. They're getting back to it. My name's Henry Confidential. Shout out Aaron Cannell. Shout out Jay Burnz. Shout out Madeeh. Shout out Zach Shelton. Shout out Nick Hernandez. And most importantly, shout out you. Bye, guys.